So for a slight change of pace today, instead of examining a religious person, we are going to examine a religious movement. But before we get started into that, we need to examine the definition of the word ideology as it's used repetitively in this video.
The church does not understand that its main place of influence is the heavens.
And people like me are going to make sure it stays that way.
This is our job, is to move angels and demons. Ideologies shift by people getting to the place where they can exercise their influence and their thinking.
Again, he says ideologies shift when people can get to where they can exercise their influence and way of thinking. Hopefully you can see what direction this is heading in.
You can't win battles of ideologies unless you win the battle of the promotion of those who carry the right ideologies.
By the right ideologies, would you mean homophobia, the removal of abortion rights, the utter denial of science, the teaching of creationism, the destruction of secularism? Am I leaving anything else out?
The political process is being warred over in the spirit, and you must win the battle.
Notice the heavy use of the photos of the Capitol in the background and the American flag, like, you know, this is what America stands for, and nice, powerful, fear-mongering scare tactics they're using here about talking about the battle. There's a spiritual war in Washington, D.C.? Why haven't I heard about this?
Brothers and sisters, your life tape prayers are moving angels and changing history.
Now this was a really quick snippet that they put in there. I had to take out the audio to stretch out the video in order to make it so people could watch it properly, but this is just a really twisted example of how religion can culminate treason. They're clearly saying that their religion is more important than their own nation. Then, of course, they go on and say remove the rights of people to have abortions. Nothing new there.
You must win air supremacy. You must gain the battle in the heavens like Daniel did, so that the kings of Persia would come under the influence of the angelic realm from heaven rather than the prince of Persia.
And that's where these fuckers really start scaring me. They keep talking about this stuff with Persia and how they should be bowing down to Christianity. Sounds like if it was up to these guys, they'd just go drop a fucking bomb on Iran just to get things kicked off, or to fulfill their prophecy. This is precisely why religion and politics should be explicitly separated. They should never be allowed to combine. Nor should we even have a religious president.
For 40 days and nights, immediately before the 2008 elections, we are going to be continuing in Washington, D.C., with a laser target focus on the Supreme Court, on a pro-life president, and on the ending of abortion in the nation.
Apparently God was resting that day.
50 young people stood in front of that court in complete silence with live tape over their mouths, and there's a complete circus surrounding them.
Is it just me, or does anyone else interpret the symbology of the tape on their mouth with life written on it as a statement basically saying, shut up and obey our views on abortion? Is it just me?
Because everyone knew during that election cycle that the abortion issue was the real issue of the election. And
oh, so true. Just totally forget about the war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan, the war on terrorism, the war on drugs, the national debt, the economy, the Federal Reserve, exportations of jobs overseas, the political corruption we see in our face every single day. Abortion is definitely the key issue, though.
Pro-choice protesters were raging that day in front of the court.
Glad there's someone out there to counteract your nonsense. You're sitting here trying to strip rights away from people solely because your sacred fairy tale is against people making personal choices for themselves that affect only their lives. Yeah, I'm raging too.
I think October 6th is going to be a similar day before these elections, clearly with abortion being a wedge issue.
And he says it with such pride that he's created a wedge issue that is only going to drive people apart instead of coming together like rational human beings and resolving our differences. Great work.
We're blowing a Nehemiah trumpet saying, hey, we're spread out thin along the wall, but when you hear the trumpet, gather to me there and God will fight for us.
I actually just got an email from God on that whole election thing, and he wanted me to apologize to you guys. You see, he got drunk as shit with Jesus on Sunday and passed out in the park, and By the time you woke up on Monday, your little protest, well, it was already over. Sorry.
Come and rally to this point in Washington, D.C. on the opening day of the court. We're saying, come, everyone, come. And we're saying, come, everyone, come.
Ashes in my pants. It's perfectly normal, nothing wrong with me, but we're going to need a cleanup on aisle 3.
Pray to invisible people, add bias to our voting process, and do it now.